Hello, everyone, and welcome to CDO Expo Virtual. We're here with a panel of technology, design, and wellness experts to discuss wellness and design during the age of COVID-19 with wellness solutions for the new normal. I'm your session moderator, Tony Antolino. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer and the Chief Marketing Officer at Delos. Today, we're going to hear from our industry experts on how the demand for well living and design has changed during the COVID-19 pandemic, and how integrators and designers can design for living well at home. So, with that, I'd like to welcome our panelists. John Clancy, VP of Residential at Crestron. As the head of Global Residential Business Unit for Crestron Electronics, John Clancy is responsible for the sales, marketing strategy, dealer initiatives, end user programs, and product and software development for homes, hospitality, and luxury yachting. Prior to joining Crestron, Clancy spent 22 years in various positions at Audio Command Systems, one of the largest residential integrators. In 2015, John Clancy was elected to the CDO Board of Directors. He also serves on the CTA Smart Home Board of Directors and the Home Technology Association Board of Advisors. John, welcome to the panel.
Thanks,
Next, we have Jan Pedroski, founder of HEDsouth. For 30 years, Jan has been the catalyst that simplifies complex innovations into personalized solutions for his customers. With the drive and experience he acquired while working in the electronics industry since 1975, he launched his company in 1984, HEDsouth, and expanded again into California in 2019. Jan and his HEDsouth team have built a portfolio of customized solutions for local, national, and international clients. Clients such as ABC, CBS, Sony, Disney, and the White House have benefited from Jan's profound understanding and seamless execution of technology, people, and design. Jan, thanks for joining today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Tony.
Next, Martyn Lawrence Bullard from Martyn Lawrence Bullard Design. Martyn Lawrence Bullard is a multi-award-winning Los Angeles-based interior designer renowned for his broad range of styles and eclectic yet sophisticated and inviting interiors. Martyn has been consistently named as one of the world's top 100 interior designers by Architectural Digest, featured permanently in Elle Decor's A-list, and named one of the top 25 designers in The Hollywood Reporter. A popular television personality, Martyn starred in the hit Bravo series $1 Million Decorators and hosted Channel 4's Hollywood Me in the UK, along with a multitude of design television programs spanning over 65 countries. Martyn, thank you and welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Okay, for everyone, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a chat function and a QA function. Please make sure to put any and all questions into the QA function, and we're going to do our best to answer those questions at the end of the session. So let's get started. I'm really excited about this panel today. I think we've got a great cross-section of value contributors that make up the channel. And I think there's a lot of insights and experts that, that can be gleaned here from all of the attendees today. So let's jump right in. My first question is for Martyn. Martyn, with the global pandemic really many months into this acute phase, have you seen a shift in what consumers are asking for as they engage you to help them with their home designs?
Certainly. I mean, obviously, the first and foremost is that people are now spending more time than ever in their homes, obviously, and are trying to find ways to make their home operate in not just a functional way for them, meaning a place they can work from, they can teach their children in, they can continue their lifestyle in, but also a place now where they can have health as the heart of the home. You know, people are so interested in finding ways where they can create an environment that is now safe for them and for their families. And that has been the forefront of all of the questions that we've had coming to us from existing clients and new clients. They want to work out ways of how do we integrate science really into our homes, where we can offer a healthy environment for ourselves and to bring our friends and family into. And that seems to be at the forefront of the design world questioning right now.
That's a lot to consider. There's a lot of new moving pieces that people maybe didn't think about, maybe so consciously, right? So it was things that perhaps we as a society maybe even took for granted, dare we say, but now there's a consciousness around how we're living in our homes. So that's really interesting and important insight. So let me follow that up with Jan, actually. Jan, as an integrator, how do you think about bringing those pieces that Martyn just referenced? How do you bring those together?
Well, I think with what's going on in the world today, it's very important for us to be educators for our consumers, to let them be aware of the solutions that are available to make their homes healthy and safe. So we have been a partner with Delos for a very long period of time. So we educate them on what are the 4 premier pillars of wellness for the home: air, water, lighting, and comfort. And we try to educate them on every element of it. And what we're finding today is that before it was a sell for us. Today it's a request by clients of wanting to do whatever they could do to make their home a safer and healthier place. And we, as the system integrators, take on the responsibility of working with the different subcontractors that work on these projects associated with these different subsystems. So our goal is to try to educate people, number one, and try to bring these great solutions to all different clients, because there's solutions available at all different price points. It's not a solution that's only available for the mega wealthy.
Let's stay with that for a second, because I think that's really important. You know, from a Delos perspective, one of our primary messages is always that improving health and wellness is a right, not a privilege. So certainly for this channel, we all tend to service a much higher end luxury end of the market. But it is important to know broadly that these types of solutions do transcend all home types and price points. So I, certainly appreciate you highlighting that point. So Jen, let's stay with that for a second, because I think there's a lot to unpack there. Do consumers know what they need or want, or is it something that they're aware of, but they need help to figure out exactly how to do the things that you referenced and that Martyn highlighted as well?
The majority of people don't know. It's our job, as I had stated, to be the educators, of having them be educated on what's available as far as products and solutions. They know that the world has changed. They know that we're not going back. And they all know that it's important for them to be safe. As we all know, 90% of the time, or maybe we all don't know, 90% of the time human beings are inside a space. And even more so now with the virus, people aren't leaving their homes. So it's become even more critical today in getting to the people, getting the word out that there are these solutions and they're not enormously expensive to do. And there are retrofit solutions available for people to put in their homes. But no, most people don't know. What they do know is they want to do whatever they could do within their means to make their home healthy and safe today.
Martyn, are you hearing the same or something different? I'd love to add the same question for you. Do consumers know what they need or want more specifically?
They know that they want something that provides a more healthy environment. Just as Jan said, nobody knows quite what that is. People are listening to the news and hearing that, it's safe to fly on planes because the air is recirculated every minute, or there's a UV light been put into the air conditioning unit. And so people kind of hear that and they think, do we just have a light stuck into our AC unit in the attic? And that's how we solve this. Of course, actually that is one of the things that can help with the home, but there are many more complicated situations and resolves that, of course, we can look at. but it is part of the education now that we offer. You know, we're not just talking about, oh, how comfortable is your sofa in your living room? You know, do you like it 24 inches or 28 inches? We're now talking about how do we make sure that the air that's pumped into your living room is good? How do we make sure that the lighting in your house emanates something that is relaxing and makes you feel good? So we are now not just talking about fabric and flowers. We're talking about how do we bring health into the house? And it is becoming kind of the number one question on everybody's lips. And, you know, and people also, everyone's been sick of being stuck at home now, and they really want to start entertaining. But they realize that it's not necessarily the safest bet to go to a restaurant or, you know, to go out. So they're trying to work out, how do we entertain at home in a way where we're not all now just in the garden, because obviously the winter months are coming. How do we bring people into our home and welcome them in and say, listen, this is a healthy environment, you know, we want you to enjoy it. And so that's all of the questioning that's coming to me now. And obviously we're slowly but surely being educated ourselves to the options that people like yourselves, like Delos, are offering that are actually amazing fixes to this and will in the future be the number one requirement from everybody.
Yeah, thank you. That's super helpful. And I think one of the things to add to both what you and Jan are saying here is that we try and synthesize all of that into a couple of key talk points for integrators and people in the channel and the trades, and most importantly, the consumer, because the consumer is the beneficiary, right? Is what surrounds us matters, right? The air we breathe matters. And more than ever, we're acutely aware of the quality of the air. We want the air in our homes to be as good as possible. We want to remediate contaminants from the air, but also from the commercial spaces. And if we have to fly, the airlines, what have you. The water we drink is equally important. We want to make sure we're drinking purified water. And even lighting. Lighting is very much a contaminated element as well. Exposure to artificial light can have enormous impacts on our human condition, right? It can have huge disruptive effects on our sleep-wake cycles. If we have chronic exposure to poor sleep-wake cycles, that can knock down our immune systems. And if we have a compromised immune system, lots of things can happen, right? We're going into flu season and cold season and all of that type of thing. So there are a number of different elements that we encourage everyone to think about as we start thinking about what wellness means as part of the design cycle here. So I want to throw the next question to John. And I think of all of us on the panel, John probably has the hardest job as a technology provider, thinking about innovating ahead of the curve and anticipating what consumers want before they know they want it or need it. So John, how do you guys at Crestron think about, you know, being consistent and delivering such a great product, but also remaining agile and being able to react to market conditions like what's happening in the world right now?
Well, look, that's a great question. I think health and wellness are front of mind for everyone, right? Not just for the end users or the recipients of our products, but for obviously everyone on this call, everyone we talk to, everyone we interact with, right? But how do we add value here at Crestron? And how do we get our products into spaces that Martyn's designing without adversely impacting his wonderful planning and everything that goes into that? And how do we make that easy for people like Jan, our dealers, to get that in place, right? While still delivering a great user experience for the customer. So this really happens in real time here. You know, we I hate to use the phrase, we eat our own dog food. I mean, we all live and breathe everything that we sell, and we all experience the same types of thoughts that our end users have, right? How do I make my home well? How do I make that a well space? How do I make that healthy for my family and for everyone who comes into that space, right? And so this happens in a lot of ways. I mean, the way we interact with Delos is very unique than we interact with any other product, right? The fact that we can do things both internally on our touchscreens as well as with our systems talking to each other to deliver a great user experience, right? That peace of mind that a homeowner wants just to say it's okay is maybe not good enough, but to see some metrics and to have some effect over their space is critical, right? And so I think it all ties into how people are controlling and getting that information back to themselves to be able to make decisions about how often they open their blinds or their windows or circulate air or what's the quality of the spaces. And so I think this ties into just about every aspect of our business here at Crestron, from lighting control to motorized shading to even the audio systems and things like that just transcend everything in the space.
That's really well said. I want to zoom in a little bit on some of that. Jan, from an integrator's perspective, what do you think? I mean, you've been arguably, of the integrators that I know at the front end of this thing for a number of years now. Certainly, as an extension of the early move of Delos into the channel. What do you think that integrators out there that I'm sure are all hearing about the demand for wellness into the home? What would you advise the integrators to be thinking about? How can they start putting the pieces of this together? How should they be thinking about it and approaching it? Because it really is, wellness in the home is now a new service offering for the integrator channel. I mean, you have technology companies like Crestron that are now pulling this into their user experience. So these are now not nice to have features, these are must have features. So what kind of guidance can you give to the channel?
Well, I think that they need to take the opportunity of where we are in the world today with the virus and I know it sounds horrible, but benefit out of it by using this as a tool to open up a door to start conversations with old clients and with new clients. By doing direct mailings or making people aware with printed material through social media. The other thing that I would advise, which has been really great for me, is getting involved with a PR agency. Most all of the publications that are out there today are clamoring for stuff to write about today, especially associated with wellness, especially with articles associated with staying at home and working from home and kids being schooled from home. So I would go down the path of, opening up your list of who your past clients are, talking about the current conditions, telling them that there are solutions that could be retrofitted into their systems, and also going down the path of social media platforms, and also the possibility, if they have the opportunity or money available, of hiring a PR agency to get their brand and their message out in their market, or actually on a national basis. There's lots of publications that are national that are looking for these kind of stories today. I can tell you from my own experience that we've probably gotten at least 10 to 15 different write-ups on wellness at home. Even today in the New York Times, there was an article published about Delos and wellness and me as an integrator. So it's out there. You just need to take the time and organize yourself and go for it.
And sorry to interject, but I think that Jan hit on it exactly, right? I think, for our dealers, for the channel, for our integrators, to not be afraid to bring this up with your customers, right? This is not something to hide from. This is something that is front of mind for everyone. And there are solutions out there. And again, to point out what Jan was discussing before, the integrators are the educators for the end users in terms of technology, and to bring up the possibilities of what can be done in the home are part of the job. And again, this is really just the beginning of this. And I think that's the big thing. Don't be afraid to talk about this with your customers. I know it's a touchy subject, and I know the perception of profiteering off of a pandemic, for instance, is not great. But you're talking about adding value, and you're delivering something that they really are wanting at this time and place.
Yeah, I had a lot of pushback initially. I've been involved with Delos for several years now, and I got a lot of pushback from people initially. Oh, I really don't need that. I don't want that. Oh, it doesn't affect me. 180-degree shift from I don't want that, I don't need that, to how can I do it? What can I do? What can I do? Even at a minimum, what can I do? And there are all of these solutions available for the integrators.
Yeah, and you know, I've been designing recently lots of commercial type products. Like I've been working on the Four Seasons residences here in LA. And to begin with, at the beginning of this, a couple of years ago when we started the building, we were saying, you know, should we integrate this kind of system as part of the selling tool? And of course, they were like, oh, it's not an expense. Now, everyone's saying, yes, we need to do this because, okay, it's an added expense, but it's actually the best selling tool we could come up with. So this is like the number one thing that everybody wants. They want their healthy home.
And for the integrators, if they are in the market of working with developers, now is the prime time to make the phone call to the developers and say, hey, I got a differentiator for you. It's of the now, and I think it's going to help you sell your product a lot faster than not doing it. And I've had that success here in the Miami market.
Yeah, one of the things I mention here for you guys is, you know, John said something about, you know, the potential concern around profiteering off of a pandemic. And what I will say to everyone is, you know, if we were back in March and April, I would have said, yeah, listen, obviously no one ever wants to sell into a crisis. However, now I think the dust has settled. We know we are in the new normal. It's being defined every day, every week, every month right now. This is not going away next week. It's the unfortunate reality. So where we're not, I don't think any of us are actually selling something into the market right now. We are servicing demand from the consumer. The consumer, back to where we started the conversation, the consumer knows that they can do better, right? When they know better, they do better. It's a fundamental concept. We've heard this for years and years on lots of subjects. But our job collectively is to help them know what it is available to them and help them incorporate that into their home to bring forward a better health outcome for themselves and for their families. And everyone represented here are the stakeholders that make up that value chain from first point of engagement, maybe with Martyn from the design perspective, quickly going to Jan to help figure out how to make this a reality, over to John at Crestron to bring all of the pieces together into a pleasurable, user-friendly, easy, automated experience. And obviously, you know, from a Delos perspective, we're the science behind all of this and how and why we should be doing, using certain products and technologies to actually make that happen. Martyn, I wanted to actually ask you the same question that John and Jan have answered. There's a lot of the design community watching today. What advice would you give to fellow designers and decorators on how they should begin to think about, you know, hearing the needs of the consumer as it relates to designing for wellness? And what advice could you give them in terms of making it an integrated part of that design aesthetic and experience that they're looking for?
You know, the number one rule right now is to educate yourself to this, because obviously our clients are looking to us for the information and we need to have that at our fingertips. So as sort of experts in field, like I said, we're not just talking about, you know, the color of a sofa anymore. We're talking about the environment of the room, of the house. How do we make this the safe environment that turns it from a house to a home? And so it's really important to know all the things that are on the market, all the options that you can give to people, whether they're building from scratch, which of course is the ideal thing for all of us for the real integration, or whether they're remodeling, or whether the house is done and they just want to find a way to make it the healthier home. So it's really about understanding as much as you can to give the right advice to your clients. I mean, I know that Delos offer all sorts of packages that really help explain that. And I would say number one thing to do is to read through that, to highlight the sections that make sense to the design level of the experience, and make sure you offer that out to the client. You don't want your client to think they're missing out on anything, and you certainly want them to understand that you're looking at luxury from them from the very core. And the number one luxury product today is health.
Got it. So well said. So well said. So it's interesting because I think the leitmotif here across all of us is exactly the same message, just slightly tailored to, you know, the area of focus that we represent. But, you know, the net here is open up the conversation, have that conversation with your customer, whomever that might be, the end consumer or your fellow trades or whomever. Lean into the conversation. The demand is there, the consumer is thinking about it, and if we come together and we're mindful and we work together to bring our expertise to the channel, to the homeowners, to whether it's commercial residences or individual homeowners, we're all going to be able to contribute to something that's really meaningful, and that's to help improve health outcomes for people. So listen, it makes me really happy to hear that everyone is kind of saying the same thing, just slightly differently. That's really a great inflection point from my perspective. We've been at this for a long time, so I'm very happy to hear that. Martyn, quick question for you. As a designer, has this conversation that we're having that's been unpacked so nicely, has there been a learning curve for you? What's that been like from let's say the early days of like February, March to now? What's that journey been like? If you could share that with the audience.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve for all of us because we've all gone through the same thing. We've all been, you know, locked down and at home and not able to go to our offices or see our families. So it's been that experience of actually experiencing your own home in a new way. And at the beginning of this pandemic, everybody was scared to even go in their gardens. You know, none of us knew what was around the corner. Was the virus going to like leap at us from you know, the pavement? So one of the things that I think coming out of this is now understanding that we now understand cleanliness is one of the most important things. And of course, most of us always keep our homes super clean. But it's also the fact that for me and in my industry, that we now just don't have to consider making a room look pretty. As I said, we have to consider how do we make the room also be a healthy environment. And that is a whole new platform that myself and all of my staff are learning on a daily basis. It really will become our number one selling tool as well going forward. You know, and I think those of us that are the most educated and the most forward thinking in that are the ones that are going to still be the most successful in our design careers because it is the next phase.
Nicely. Jan, same question over to you. Has there been a learning curve? And well, maybe not so much for Jan particularly because you've been leaned into the conversation for quite some time, but put your integrator hat on from a channel perspective more broadly.
You know, I think for me, people telling me no for a very long period of time to the wellness narrative, for me, now having people embrace it has changed my whole mindset. I would go in for client meetings and be afraid to lead with it because I was thinking that if I led with this conversation, I get knocked out of the box. That why is this guy coming here to talk to me about wellness when we brought him in to talk about our televisions and our music and making it simple to operate with a Crestron control system. You know, I lost several projects in the beginning of time pitching this where I'd get phone calls back after the meetings from the builder. He would say, what were you thinking? Why did you bring that up? They have no interest in that. They wanted to know about their TVs and music, and you're telling them about, you know, having a healthy home. So for me, I'm loving it. I'm loving it right now. It went from something that, as you know, Tony, I've been the evangelist in the industry for wellness as a new category. So for me, seeing it expand and explode the way that it's happening makes me feel really good about what I've been doing. Because, you know, at this point in my career, it makes me feel good to be able to give back something versus just the entertainment kind of or control system stuff that I was doing in the past.
Yeah.
Here I'm actually helping people live a better quality of life. And I know it might sound corny, but it's real. And it makes me feel good.
Well, look, think about the inverse of that conversation post-move-in, right?
Right.
For that customer who calls you up and says, you know, I didn't know this was available. Why didn't you tell me about this, right? I would have definitely bought into this. And now I'm moved in, and I was never given the option or never educated about the possibilities of creating a well environment or a healthy environment in my home. So I think you've been ahead of that for a while, Jim.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that, you know, there are many vendors within the different subcategories that are now jumping on the bandwagon. You know, I think Tony and I know the term well washing, but a lot of them are jumping in full, you know, right into the pool, whether it's the lighting fixture manufacturers who had no interest in this at all, who are now coming up with solutions that do circadian rhythm. Air washing systems. Yeah, people had air filters, but now everybody's talking about air filtration. You know, comfort features, all of these, and making it simple to operate. It's helping drive, you know, I guess you could use the term Trojan horse. For me, it was a loss leader Trojan horse in getting other business. Now it's really great for people in our industry to lead with this narrative. You know, they could quickly fall back and say, what's the hot thing within what Apple's doing today? Mm-hmm. This $1 trillion company that is the hottest technology company. What's on the forefront within Apple? It's all health-based. It's all talking about a better quality of life through health. And here we are as system integrators, you know, now coming to the table with solutions for everybody. So I'm really happy and excited about it. And I'm really looking forward to this movement driving my revenue. You know, my adoption rate with projects on a residential standpoint for wellness has skyrocketed.
Sure.
And I think you know that, Tony.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Listen, I'm glad that you're sharing it with everyone, because I think these are the affirmations that the channel, regardless of whether you're a designer, a decorator, an integrator, you know, trying to make decisions on what technology or automation systems to put into your home, how to think about a project. I think these are all affirmations that the market at large has been looking to hear and kind of get the okay that it's okay to lean into this conversation. I mean, you know, we sit in an interesting position at Delos because we are in conversations, deep in conversations with everyone in the value chain that's represented here today. So I can tell you with certainty that it's a must-have. It's not a nice-to-have any longer. So if you don't bring the conversation up and put it on the table, it's not as much of an 800-pound gorilla as you might think. To John's point, you have to let the people know that it's there and then help solve for it so that they get the benefit, because it is here and now. This is not next year technology. These are not next year solutions. These are things that can be assessed and incorporated and designed into a space in a way that is absolutely seamless. It's not going to be, you know, wall acne or anything like that. These are solutions that can literally be invisibly incorporated, and most importantly, passively working in the background, does not require any human behavior change to get the benefit. You're simply going to live in your house exactly the same way you did before, except with a different set of solutions in the home. You're going to bring forward the health benefit. I want to ask John another question. John, you know, typically Crestron would be about bringing forward the absolute best experience and benefits around entertainment and security and convenience. Now with wellness being so omnipresent, how important will wellness be to the future of Crestron in terms of primary features?
Well, it is our next big thing, right? I mean, we, you know, as you and I have talked, we have some interesting things we're about to announce. But I would say this transcends even our residential business, right? As people go back to work, how does an employer ensure that the space they're going back into is safe for their employees, right? And how do I talk about wellness with my employees? And then again, where Crestron sits in this space where we service both the commercial and the residential markets pretty heavily, especially at the high end and the residential space. These are the things that this is where things begin, right, at the high end, and then that trickle down. Again, you touched on it earlier in the conversation about this is a right. This is something that everyone deserves to have in their homes, right? But it is fairly new, right? The whole concept of wellness and health, a healthy home or healthy environment. But it does begin at the top and trickle down. And I think we are absolutely in the right spot at the right time to be able to deliver this to our customers.
Fantastic.
And I'll bring, hey, Tony, I want to bring just one other point up, which is helpful for integrators. I don't know what other integrators' life experiences have been, but a good amount of time, the female in the relationship of the homeowners, if there's a wife, they typically don't want to be involved in the technology aspect of it. And I'm just saying in general, not all the time. But now bringing the female in who takes care of the children within the home and having this healthy environment. It used to, like in the beginning part, I'd get nudges from husbands, don't talk about that. Don't talk about the wellness thing. You know, we're not spending money on that. Don't talk about that. Now, in my conversations with the clients when I meet with them, as I did yesterday, I said, is your wife involved in this project? Oh yeah, especially the lighting part. Well, great. You know what? I'd love to meet with your wife and talk about making a healthy home. And it's like home run right away. So it opens up the ability of bringing the spouse into the conversation, which also helps in selling the solution.
Amazing. Amazing. I want to give anybody the opportunity for a last word before we wrap up this part of the conversation and move to QA. Martyn, any closing words for the community?
One of the things that for us in the design community is that people panic about. They think that their designs, their interiors are going to get messed up by this. And the reality is that it integrates seamlessly. There's nothing that has to change. You don't have to re-wallpaper the walls or recarpet the floors. It is something that we can do now with the minimal of work and create this healthy environment and still have a beautiful interior.
Amazing. John, anything you want to wrap up with?
Well, just to piggyback on Martyn's comments, right? This is something that can seamlessly be added to interior designs and not impact anything from an aesthetic perspective. And again, our goal again is to make that simple for our dealers and deliver what an end user, what a homeowner really wants, which is really ease of use and reliability, and be able to look at these metrics and have some impact or be able to realize the impact on their lives.
Great. Jan, last but not least.
Thank you for having me on this panel. I'm glad that we're getting to share the word. You have on this panel some of the industry's best people that have been involved in residential work for a very long period of time. And all of us are on board with making this the norm. Having wellness within the home is the new norm. So thank you for inviting me. And integrators, if you're watching this, or designers, if you're watching this, jump in the pool with us.
Well said. Gentlemen, I want to thank each and every one of you for carving out time. This has been an absolutely wonderful conversation. Appreciate you sharing your insights, your knowledge, your wisdom, your expertise with everyone. Now we are going to move into the Q&A portion of this session. We'll look forward to addressing those questions. Great discussion, gentlemen.
Yes.
Excellent discussion. All right, we've got some questions coming in, actually, a good number of questions. So
Really?
let's jump right to it. Jan, actually, this first one I think is perfect for you. What advice would you give to custom integrators who are hesitant to present wellness solutions to their clients because they don't want to step on the toes of other trades that may be on the job? So as example, they might be hesitant to present air filtration solutions because they don't want to step on the HVAC contractor.
It's a common thing that happens in our world of feeling comfortable with you, your skill set, and being the educator. It was the same thing for us when we got involved in the shading business or other businesses that we weren't involved in before, that we're the complete solution provider, and we're here to help. I think that it has to be approached that way. You can't be afraid.
Nice.
You got to do what you got to do. Either that or you won't be in the business.
Words of wisdom. Nicely said.
Thank you.
Martyn, this one is for you. How do you integrate wellness with connected technologies and great design?
You know, the reality is that the integrating the wellness doesn't affect the look or vibe of the interior whatsoever. You know, for us, bringing in healthy air and circadian light systems, it's all done so easily. It's done the same way as the regular situation. The air vents through the same vents. You know, the lighting is done with the same switches. It doesn't affect anything to do with the way your interior looks. It just enhances your life, so you get to enjoy your interior even more.
What a punctuation mark I can put on that actually is like, even as you think about like the solutions that we specify, some might think, okay, well, you're specifying very specific products that meet your, you know, the criteria for wellness from a Delos perspective. But what I can tell you is that one of our core mandates is that we do this in a way that will align with someone like Martyn's design intent or an architect's intent, right? So we have to be able to be, as was talked about in the discussion, we have to be able to provide products that are being seamlessly designed in by the creatives that are creating wonderful spaces, and those products exist. And what's even, I think, more inspiring is that the manufacturing community at large is really leaning into this conversation, and they're making sure that they're bringing form factors that satisfy design and architecture, but have enhanced features and performance expectations. So that's really kind of where form and function, not to sound cliche, but it's true in this case, as we move to the next wave of what these products are expected to do for us. So form and function really is coming together in a way that I think people may think, well, is it really there yet? But the good news is that it really is there. Okay, let's see, the next question. Do you believe that wellness goes beyond air, thermal, acoustics, and light, etc., and includes how we move within our spaces? So I'll open with this and then I'll open the floor up to everybody else. But I know from a Delos perspective, guys, our core concepts are air, water, light, and then our kind of software and algorithms that bring all those pieces together, right? To make sure that the indoor environment is optimal for improving health outcomes. But one of the things that is really important as well is mental health, right? And being able to address things like stress and anxiety and all of those things, and how you design a space, or maybe not even design if it's not from a ground up space, but as Martyn said in the discussion, we're now using our spaces and our homes in a very different way. There's probably a lot more people in our homes throughout the entire day. It's where I am. It's where Martyn is and some of you. So it's really how we start to rethink utilization of the space and design the space, so that when we need space to ourselves, whether it's to work or think or just kind of decompress and recharge, we have that space. That's how we're thinking about it from a Delos perspective. So yes, it is absolutely important to be thinking about how we move through the spaces. Gentlemen, anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I'll give you a couple of things. In the residential, looking at the well building standard, which is this huge platform that was developed by Delos, there are other elements that can get incorporated into the home beyond the basic pillars that we discussed, but sometimes more difficult to do in a residential space than it is in a commercial space. So what has to happen if people are interested in other areas of what they could do to better the quality of their space inside, they could actually go online and look at the well building standard, or reach out to their system integrator, which generally will be their business partner in the market, to help educate them on the other things that could get done.
Look, and to add on to that, right, I think you touched on something really important, right? The mental health aspect, right? Martyn designs wonderful interiors that make you feel comfortable in the space, right? That's soothing, right? I think, and we all play a little part in that, right? We deliver products and solutions that have to fit seamlessly into that space, that don't overtake or intrude on the design. Delos has their 4 pillars of wellness. And I think we all collaborate on delivering what can be considered, a mentally healthful space, or something like that. I think that's really, really important to talk about.
Okay, John, let's stay with you. I think this one is perfect. What resources are out there to help integrators or designers educate themselves on the topic?
Wow, so that's a great question. We have an immense amount of resources here at Crestron to help support our dealers, right? So again, it starts with typically our dealers, right, who get hired by an end user, an architect, a builder, an interior designer for an upcoming project, right? And I know that a lot of dealers or a lot of integrators have really struggled to maintain the level of knowledge required to be a resource for these projects, and we really have extensive resources here at Crestron to help support that. Our sales support services, or our tech sales arm, as one example, really can help our dealers or our integrators plan out their systems. Again, it's something we don't charge for. We absolutely encourage all of our dealers to run all of their projects through just that one solution, or that one arm of who we are.
Okay, next question. Can you talk about the range of cost of the Delos system integration? All right, so I'm gonna answer that, and then I think Jan, as an integrator, can also lean into that. So I'm not gonna get into details in the spirit of time, but for the channel, you should know that we have created a pricing and margin matrix that allows you to enjoy typical margin that you would expect as an integrator. So as it relates to software, you're going to be reselling the software. You're going to make a healthy level of margin that's commensurate with what you're used to making on software or products. And then also for the air, the water, the light, and any other physical products, if you're not already a dealer of one of the products that we are recommending, you can procure them or you can buy them from us. Again, market rate margin is built into that pricing structure. So for you, this is an additional revenue stream and margin stream for you. Jan, anything else that you want to add there?
I guess you need to qualify what solutions the client is open for. So, when we look at the different pillars of what we talk about when we're talking about wellness, there's air, light, water, comfort. There's different things at different price points that can give you a taste of it at the lower end of the spectrum. And there are solutions like with Crestron and Delos at the upper end of the market for higher end projects. But there are solutions to give you the capability of adding the wellness narrative to your product mix and your brand at all different price points. So although it might not be the complete package as should be sold through integrators using Delos solutions and Crestron solutions, there are things at all different price points. So if somebody just wants to start with cleaning the air within their space, although it really doesn't represent the complete package, start with that opportunity. Take advantage of getting the client into it, showing the client that you care about their well-being. Sell them air filtration. Sell them whatever you're going to be able to sell them.
One last question, guys. We're running up against time here. Martyn, what would you say is the most popular wellness technology that your clients are asking for in homes you design? For example, is it wellness lighting? Is it air quality? Is it something else?
It's 100%. It's the air filtration. At the moment, that's the number one thing that everybody's so worried about. You know, with the COVID pandemic and everything, they want as cleaner air as they can possibly have in their home. And of course, in longevity, we've had everybody, you know, talking about water. You know, they've wanted the cleanest water they could have. And of course, water purification systems are one of the simplest things to add. But now our number one conversation, whether we're retrofitting or whether we're talking about new builds, is they want pure, clean, healthy air.
Complete sense. All right, gentlemen, we are up against time. That wraps up our panel. Unfortunately, it sounds like we could have talked about this for hours, and there's a number of unanswered questions, but unfortunately we are out of time. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for carving out time. I know your schedules are incredibly busy, but thank you again. I think this has been a great, informative, and insightful discussion. I think there are immediate actions that the community that was tuned in today can take away and turn into immediate action to enhance their own businesses and the relationships with their customers. So thank you again. It's been a great privilege and a great conversation. So thank you again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Fantastic.